Welcome to the Explainer. Building trust in the digital world, it's a lot like constructing a highly secure fortress. You don't just throw up a wall and hope for the best, right? You need a totally precise blueprint for exactly what you're trying to protect and a really rigorous system for who you actually let inside. So today, we're unpacking the ultimate architect's blueprint for cybersecurity. We're going to explore the foundational frameworks that literally invisibly protect every single email you send, every bank transaction you make, and honestly, pretty much every corporate network on the globe. Let's dive in. Here's our blueprint for today. We'll start with the core of cybersecurity, then decode the CIA Triad, walk through the AA access framework, look at AA in the real world, and finally figure out how to actually scale your security model. All right, part 1. The core of cybersecurity. So in a world where hackers are basically constantly trying to breach our systems, we absolutely need robust ways to measure security. And there's this brilliantly simple little phrase to anchor this whole concept in your mind. It goes like this: confidentiality keeps secrets secret, and integrity keeps secrets from being changed. Seriously, keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer. It perfectly encapsulates 2/3 of the foundational model we use to actually design, implement, and manage our security architectures. Which brings us to part 2, decoding the CIA Triad. Now, just a quick aside, sometimes you'll see this referred to as the AIC Triad, just to avoid any confusion with the actual Central Intelligence Agency in the US, but CIA really is the standard IT term. Okay, let's break it down. The C stands for confidentiality. This is all about protecting information from unauthorized access, because honestly, the absolute biggest challenge in IT security is making data available to people, but only to the right people. We pull this off through techniques like encryption, scrambling the data so anyone snooping in the middle just sees gibberish, and strict access controls. Think about your medical records. Confidentiality is what ensures that only you and your authorized doctor can actually read that highly sensitive information. If someone unauthorized manages to read an encrypted email, yep, that is a breach of confidentiality. Moving on to the I, that's for integrity. Look, if we're sending information across a massive network, we want to be absolutely 100% sure the recipient gets exactly what was sent. No alterations, no tampering. So the best way to think about integrity is like a digital seal. We use techniques like hashing, where we essentially send a unique mathematical hash right alongside the data. If the receiver's hash matches ours perfectly, boom, the data is completely untouched. We also use things like digital signatures and certificates to provide what we call non-repudiation. That's just a fancy way of saying we have undeniable proof of exactly where the data came from and that it definitely hasn't been messed with along the way. And finally, the A stands for availability. Because think about it, you can have the most confidential and perfectly intact data in the entire world, but if nobody can actually reach it, your system is totally useless. Availability ensures that systems and data are up, running, and accessible when your authorized users actually need them. We guarantee this through fault tolerance, so if one component suddenly fails, another one just instantly picks up the slack. Throw in regular patching to close up any security holes, completely redundant network infrastructure, and rock-solid backups, and you've got true availability. Okay, moving right along to part 3, the AA access framework. So the CIA Triad tells us exactly what we're trying to achieve, right? But how do we actually control who gets through the front door to maintain that triad? Well, that brings us to the ultimate gatekeeper mechanism, the AAA framework. Let's look at this as a sequential journey for any user trying to get onto a network. AA stands for Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting. First up, identification happens. You basically claim to be a specific user. Then authentication verifies that claim. You prove you really are who you say you are by dropping a secret password or maybe using a multi-factor app. Second is authorization. Now that the system actually knows who you are, it has to determine what you're actually allowed to do. Like if you work in the shipping department, you definitely shouldn't be authorized to peek at the finance data. And third is accounting. Look, every good security system needs a solid log. Accounting tracks exactly what time you logged in, how much data you consumed, and exactly when you logged out. It's absolutely crucial for compliance, for auditing, and spotting weird trends. But here's the thing. Authentication isn't just for us humans. We have to explicitly contrast how we verify human users versus how we verify machines. Authenticating people? Pretty straightforward. You use usernames, passwords, or maybe a physical ID like a passport. But what about a company laptop sitting out in a coffee shop trying to connect back to the internal network? Obviously, the computer can't physically type out a password. So to authenticate systems, we rely heavily on digital certificates and digital signatures. A central server, called a certificate authority, essentially signs a digital certificate specifically for that one device. Then, during login, the network checks that certificate to definitively prove, yep, no doubt about it, this is an authorized company-owned device.
All right, part 4, AAA in the real world.
Abstract concepts are great and all, but let's actually see how AA functions in the real world using an analogy we all know a little too well: airport security. So imagine you're traveling. You arrive at the security checkpoint, you hand over your passport. That is authenticating people. They are verifying your physical identity. While you're standing there, maybe a security dog walks by and sniffs your luggage for anything unauthorized. That is exactly like authenticating systems, ensuring no malicious or untrusted elements are trying to sneak onto the network. And finally, the gate agent scans your boarding pass for your specific flight. That right there is your authorization model. It's proving you actually have the specific right to be in that terminal on that specific plane.
Now, translate that airport process into a technical IT environment, and it looks a lot like a standard VPN or virtual private network login flow. Imagine you're working from your couch at home, and you desperately need a file from the corporate server. You sit at your laptop, which is your client device, and you send your username and password over the internet to a firewall or a VPN concentrator. But here is the catch. That concentrator doesn't actually know your password. It doesn't store it. Instead, it securely passes your credentials over to a central AAA server database, something like Active Directory. That AAA server checks the master database, confirms a perfect match, and then sends an approval right back to the concentrator. And then finally, the concentrator opens the gate, and you are into the internal network.
Okay, last up, part 5, scaling your security model. So this whole system, it works beautifully for just one user, but how on earth do you manage hundreds or even thousands of employees worldwide without messing up? Well, imagine if you didn't have an authorization model at all. Let's say you hire a brand new employee in the shipping and receiving department. Naturally, they need access to a bunch of stuff. You would literally have to sit down at your desk and manually grant them individual, specific rights just to create a shipping label, then to track a shipment, then to view the monthly reports, and then to access the customer data. For one person, okay, it's tedious. But for tens or hundreds of new hires across dozens of different resources, it is a total administrative nightmare. It simply does not scale. And this brings us to the real aha moment of our explainer. We completely bypass this nightmare using authorization models. This creates what we call an abstraction layer. Instead of manually mapping every single user to every individual permission, we just create a group. We build a single shipping and receiving group, and we assign all those complex resource permissions to the group itself just one time. Now, when you hire 100 new shipping employees, easy. You simply drop their user accounts into that one group. Instantly, like magic, all 100 employees inherit exactly the right access. It completely separates the users from the specific data they're trying to reach, which streamlines administration and lets you easily, effortlessly scale your security for thousands of employees. So, we've seen how the CII Triad sets our ultimate goals of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and how the AAA framework acts as the rigorous gatekeeper to actually enforce them at a massive scale. These aren't just dry IT concepts. They literally form the invisible architecture of our entire modern world. So I'll leave you with this to think about. How many times today have the CIA and AAA frameworks silently protected your own digital life? Whether it's unlocking your phone or checking your bank balance, this incredible blueprint is always right there, working in the background. Definitely keep that in mind the next time you type in a password.